welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at gods5minutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. Hosea 6:1 reads, "Come and let us return unto the Lord. For he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up." This call from the lips of an Old Testament prophet, whose destiny it was to deal with the Jews over a span of some 50 years, is surely a powerful appeal for people to turn from the temptations and follies of life without God into the hope of his favor and blessing. 4 kings reigned in Judah during his time. Some of them were wicked. At least one of them feared God. So this man had seen a little of it all. He had seen those who, like strong-headed horses, took the bit in their teeth and refused to be checked or corrected from reining in any lust or passion, who were guided at best by human wisdom. And he had seen Hezekiah's appeals to God for deliverance from the Assyrian horde result in a great deliverance. He had seen how God added years to that king's life because of his tears and humility. Surveying the things he had learned and seeing the lives of those about him who had allowed themselves to stray from the law God had given Moses the prophet, was stirred to issue this appeal. It is as if he had said, "Friends, haven't you had enough of sin and ruin, casting dark clouds of frustration and disappointment over your most cherished dreams? You see your homes torn with strife and your money squandered on things of little value. You have sown much seed, but when you go to reap, there is little. You eat up all the pleasure and delightfulness sin has to offer, but no matter how much you find, it leaves something deep inside unsatisfied. You've drunk to the dregs of the dark religions destroying the nations around you. While they have many philosophies and emotions, they have not filled you as only the sparkling water from heavenly fountains can. Your souls remain withered and dry. You've tried to clothe yourselves with fig leaves against the pricks of guilt and shame contact with God's Spirit always brings, but there remains a frozen place in your heart. The wages you are earning for sinful lives are bitter wages that fall out through the holes eaten into your hearts by the maws of lies and filthiness. Will you never be happy living like that? And so he lifts the trumpet of God's word to his lips and calls out this ringing appeal to his people as living and bright with promise today as it was almost 3,000 years ago. Don't you think it's time to put an end to the disappointment and reach out for a bright hope? Come, he says, a gentle word of mild entreaty. Come home. We've been missing you. There are people here at home who love you. It is time to return to the Lord. The word translated torn literally means pluck off. So Hosea's message to his countrymen is, life, sin, the devil have been stealing pieces of your heart, of your soul, of the person you were meant to be. You can't put them back by yourselves, but there is hope. There is someone who can. If the Lord in mercy has been opposing your way, trying to keep you from sowing the seeds of a wild and reckless life, and trying to keep the ones who have already sown from growing, the solution is to turn back to him. The one who has allowed your hearts to be torn is the one who can bind up the wounds, stop the bleeding, heal the savage pain. There are no words that can fully describe the comfort of feeling in your own hearts the poet's words. Did you hear what Jesus said to me? They're all taken away, away. My sins are all taken away. The closing part of the verse continues in the same manner. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. The word smitten implies a sudden, disorienting blow. Have you ever had one? You're making plans for the future. Then someone dear gets a message saying he or she has terminal illness. You were deeply in love with what you thought was a mutual relationship. Then you find out the one for whom you cared is untrue. There are a lot of things like that in life. It is a Christian's comfort to have a God who has a perfect wrapping for a broken heart, who controls what comes into the lives of his children and uses it for our good. Have you talked to him today?
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.